Hello, everyone, and welcome to this live Q&A. I have two extra special guests today, luminaries of the spirit world and ancient sites. I have Matías de Stefano. He's obviously featured in some hit Gaia content, Initiation and Journey of Remembering. And Matías is going to be helping us dive deep into the soul science of sacred sites. And then I have Jorge Luis Delgado. He is an Andean chacruna or bridge or guide to the other worlds. And he's literally a guide. I've toured with him in Peru, November of last year, and it was a journey that I loved immensely. Thank you, everyone, for sharing where you are from. Let me say hello to Petra from Austria and Liz from New York. And we have Raven from Virginia Beach. We have the United Kingdom, Switzerland, Denver, New Jersey, Canada, Sweden, Colorado. Okay, it's going too far, too fast now. So many beautiful people at Gaia. We are first and foremost a community of conscious explorers here to not only delve deep into our own potential, but also to help facilitate a grand awakening and to help elevate the frequency of planet Earth. Part of the reason we have these two guests with us today is that we have an exclusive opportunity for you to join them in Peru. This is breaking news. We will be able to travel with Matías and Jorge to some of the most incredible sacred sites in the world. And you'll be finding out more about this on this call. But first of all, just a quick hello, Matías. Hi, welcome.
Hello, thank you for inviting me.
Of course, always a pleasure. And Jorge, hello.
Punchai. Ali Punchai. Blessings from the light, my friends.
Great to see you here as well. So to start with, I just wanted to tell everybody that if you have a specific question, this is about the Gaia community. So there is a Q&A box on this live Q&A. If you could use that to ask any questions for our guests, and I'll do my best to facilitate them. But first of all, I'm going to start with a question for Matías. I know I have spoken with you about this before in some Instagram lives we did, but what is it about Peru that is so special for you? In particular, these sites like Ollantaytambo and Machu Picchu. What is it that keeps you coming back and has inspired you to come and join some of the Gaia members in this tour later in the year there?
Well, of course, personally for me, um, every time that I started a path, every time that I needed to receive a specific information regarding the whole plan that I was doing around the world, going to sacred places and everything, I had to go to Peru first to begin with a new stage. And that's why also I said yes to this invitation, because I know that I have to start a new process in 2026 for a new task. So when I received the invitation of being part of a trip in Machu Picchu and Peru in general, I was like, yes, I have to be there
Mm,
because for me it's like the connection, the direct connection with the spirit in land, in soil. So it's the spiritual path made physical in South America.
mm,
So there are many layers of why this is so important, not just in the cultural way, but also in the geographical way, and how the mountains of the Andes in Peru and Bolivia has been shaped, and all the energy that moves not just horizontally but vertically
mm,
to the atmosphere and to the ionosphere. So it's so powerful, the energy that moves there geologically, that improves the connection with the spiritual realm. So for me, it's like being Argentinian. Like if I need to connect with the spirit, I know it's Peru,
mm.
like the closest point to connect with the highest level. Yeah.
When when I was there, Matthias, and thank you everyone that's adding the questions here. I can see them coming in. I appreciate that. When I visited Peru for my first time last year in November, a similar time to this trip that's happening this year, one thing that stood out for me, even if you imagine just putting somebody in there and saying, open your eyes and what do you feel here? There feels like some extraterrestrial energy, like it's very connected to the heavens. It's like this amphitheater. It's this every terrestrial landmark has some celestial orientation. And it's like there is this very intentional mapping of the heavens onto earth. What can you speak about this sort of hermetic approach that is in Peru? And is that something that you experience when you're there as well?
Well, there was, for sure, many of you have been connected to this map that shows where the ancient equator of the planet used to be. If you, and not regarding the physical North Pole, but the magnetical North Pole. So when the magnetical North Pole used to be in the center, south west of the United States, like around Arizona, New Mexico, when the North Pole was there, the magnetical field created another equator around the planet, magnetically speaking, which crossed from Egypt to Pakistan, India, Cambodia on the other side, crossing the Pacific South, and then Peru, crossing through Peru, the Amazon, and again towards Mauritania and Egypt again. So Peru was in the pathway of the toroid of the planet when 15,000 years ago Atlantis started to design the connectivity of the planet, like the grid of the geomagnetical consciousness of this planet. So Peru, it was part of that pathway or a corridor of energy. So all the constellations, all the stars, and every being from other dimensions, they needed to go through Egypt, India, Peru, the middle of the Pacific Ocean, in order to connect and know where to be guided in this planet, how to access the energy of this planet. So that's why it also has an energy that is not just telluric or just human, but also from the stars.
Yeah, that's very fascinating. And I had the opportunity early in my career to study celestial navigation as a ship's captain. And we studied a lot about the magnetic pole. And do you think this is something that is, we have this idea that the calendar disconnects us from, the natural cycles of Earth. We have this idea that time disconnects us from the natural circadian rhythm. Would you go so far as to say that our orientation towards true north, as opposed to magnetic north, is disorienting us away from a soul connection towards like I don't know, like is this some sort of mistake we've made as a species, and knowing that magnetic north is moving constantly, right?
Yes. Well, we tend to as living creatures, we live through magnetism. So we are our brains are designed to follow the magnetical North Pole, and we sense the life through magnetical North Pole. So we are in our blood we have a lot of iron, and iron it's literally pointing to the magnetical North Pole. So we are like a compass ourselves. Like our blood is a constant compass to search for the North Pole. But when we started to disconnect ourselves from the actual calendar, the actual stars, how to guide ourselves through the North Stars, through the path of the hero's journey throughout the constellations. When we started to live out of the actual position of the Earth related to the stars, so we also disconnected our inner path in our brain with the balance of our heart. So that line, that pulse and connection that we had as in a natural way started to be disconnected when we became more idealistic or utopian, saying there's a kingdom of God, and this reality doesn't matter. We have to live like culturally and morally aligned to something that is not real in this planet. So suddenly we started to be disconnected to the true north, and that's why we all got lost in our mind. Like, we don't know who we are, where are we going, what is the purpose of our life, and everything, just because we disconnected to the true north.
Mm.
Mm.
Super powerful. I read some research just last week where Harvard published a study, and they showed the top 25 uses of AI in 2024 and the top 25 uses of AI in 2025. And in 2025, number 3, and it wasn't even on the list in 2024, is what is my purpose?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Right. Jorge, maybe to bring you in here a little bit, Matías was talking about this connection to, this orientation celestially. When we were touring together, you spoke a lot about our star brothers and sisters, and this orientation towards this celestial story. How can this help people connect deeper to their purpose, do you think?
Well, I found very interesting what Matías brought today, because one of the legends that explains why Machu Picchu has the shape of a condor, it says that, it was big Pachacuti, big changes. Even we lost some constellations. We could not see it anymore. Okay? So the communities had a meeting, and with the leaders, they decided to have access to this constellation that disappeared. So they built the city of Machu Picchu with the shape of a condor, so we can fly and get to that reality. Yes, in fact, Peru is a country of legends, histories, is amazing. Many of these legends talks about Pleiades, about Venus, about Orion Belt, the Southern Cross, and we call chacanas. Chacana means a bridge. So most of the people believe, the Milky Way is a river. The river, maybe this is the bridge to go from one side to from the river to the other side of the river. But some of the elders told me, it's really a bridge to return home.
Mm.
It's interesting. Many of the legends talks about home, talks about the ET people, but like the older brothers, the ancient ones, even in the mesas, the mesa carriers, when we carry the stones from the mountains, from the apus, which we believe also are multidimensional beings that they embody in the mountain. You see, of course, nowadays people was afraid to talk about ETs, even to talk about as a multidimensional being. So some people believe the spirit of the mountain is really the mountain itself and the physical body, but it's the spirit. That's why in the high plateau we call the Achachilas. Achach is ancestral. Illa is light. The ancestral masters of the light, that they are the protectors, the one who are at the sacred Titicaca that once had the name of Marca, which is the eternal city. So who lives in the eternal cities? The light beings, the masters, some of the Lemurians, and everybody who start to awakening to the immortality, you see, to the eternal self. We go to the lake to expand that eternal self. But if we talk about the space brothers, there is so many navigation areas and experiences everywhere. More and more people is having contact. At the beginning, some few people start to say, I am the contactee, Nowadays, what do you mean everybody's contacted here? Because we have that connection from our ancestors. That's why in the mesa carriers, we have 12 stones in some communities, But in Cusco area, it's 13.
Mm.
So some of the elders told me the first stone is the lineage from the stars. So we try to keep in the medicine bag, in this medicine textile, the mesa or misha, we put one stone that is a meteor or a tektite, which is
The
very
tektite.
easy to find. So that is our connection with the star beings. And many legends says, in all those ley lines, our older brothers brought those stones and they put in all those sacred sites in the wakas where the visible and non-visible they meet. Those are the sacred sites where we perform ceremonies, but most of all the ceremonies has to start with gratitude to the stars, to the star people. Of course, later we say, oh, it's the gratitude to, the stars that they witness our birthday. The ones not only witness, the ones who send their love, service, and wisdom that we believe that's light.
Mm.
So navigation areas like Umayo Lake, which is in Siyustani, it's an extraordinary place where the veil between worlds is very thin. So all those places, are where we find our space in the universe. When the question is, what is my purpose? In a way, we would say, it is really to find your place in the universe.
Mm.
So we live in those power places where the Incas find themselves, where they have the explosion of the inner sun and they become Incas. That is a state of consciousness. So
Mm.
it's very, very beautiful to see nowadays that a lot of people is awakening and is blooming. Still, we have still some people believing that we are seeds, we are seeds, we are seeds, but in reality, like Matías, is amazing, blooming people in the world, you see?
Mm.
So it is the place itself that we call power place, but power for us, the light. The light is always in service, is wise, and is love. So wherever we go, we have a great opportunity to feed the soul. We
Mm.
have a great opportunity to release what we need to release, and a great opportunity to expand, to open the petals and be ready to share our nectar, our sweetness, our beauty, our wisdom, our lives.
I love that. It takes me back to our times together on some of these sacred sites, doing these ritual practices, and all the tourists thinking we were crazy. And I'm sure that's going to be happening with Matthias. Yeah, we have lots of questions coming through, and thank you, everybody. There's so many here. Verina's like, does the Serpent of Light reside in Peru now? Sharon, is there a connection with Mount Shasta? Maybe, Jorge, you touch on this later. But I find something interesting here as stand out. It was about in these great times from Lisa, in these great times of transition, and maybe Matthias, this is for you. How do we move from knowledge to embodied wisdom and to remembering our multidimensionality and living through the heart in everyday life? I mean, this is the big, how do we embody our purpose of being these light connected, heart-centered beings in these times of transition?
Well, it's a tough one for someone that explains a lot of things, because the best way to actually embody wisdom is trying not to understand. So of course I dedicate my life to educate and to try to answer as much as I can, but actually that's not wisdom. Wisdom is something that you have to sense with every cell, not with just your neurons, not just with your brain. So it's not about understanding, which is acknowledgement, or knowledge, which is the accumulation of data, but in the opposite direction is to be a channel for the flow of that energy to go through. Um, so, uh, so I would say that the best way to practice how to become a channel for wisdom and not a vessel for knowledge is to start releasing the expectation of everything that we have. Expectation is knowledge because you are comparing data, a package of data. So I have this package of data, so it means that in order to receive a specific information, it needs to match what I know. And when we have that, it's like if we are just observing this tiny little aspect of life, and we are not open to receive many other options of it. So, so in order to actually receive wisdom, you have to be open to the unexpected, to receive information in the shape of smells. So it's about breaking the patterns that you have created that are the let's say the molds that you found out in order to understand the world. So that's why it's so traumatic for a lot of people to access the path of wisdom, because it requires to do paths like these ones to break yourself into tiredness, into the high altitude, into I cannot breathe, I'm tired, I'm hungry, I don't understand, I feel like I'm crazy. All of those things, to break every pattern until you just allow yourself to be just a connector for all of that, instead of trying to get it and understand it and give it a meaning. So that's why I like Crisis.
Do you think, Matthias, that, this concept of what you're talking about here, to elaborate on this question from Lisa, I think it was, is I see the world in like three different categories. It's like life happens to me, which is like victim, right? Life happens for me, which is like creator. And then life happens through me, which is like your channel.
Yes.
This bridge, I think many people of the Gaia community, life happens for me. Everything's working for me. But then you're saying there's this next evolution, which is I am simply a conduit for the divine. I am simply a channel. But to do that, we must release expectations and get out of our mind. And this is the ultimate, I think, challenge for humanity, right?
Yeah, it's a challenge because we have the perception from our human point of view that I'm here observing you right now. And so that makes me perceive that everything that is happening around is just a perception of myself. And that's one of the mistakes that we tend to have when we mix spirituality with quantum physics. That we tend to believe I am the creator of my own reality. And that's a very 0.000 point whatever. I don't know. It's like very, very short explanation on how this actually works. Because it's not that you or me, Matías, I'm the creator of that reality. That what actually is happening is that everything that is the light that is everywhere is not the one that is perceiving the universe. The consciousness goes through everything that exists. Every particle, every wave, the consciousness just goes through. So it's not located in one point observing the everything. Consciousness moves through the everything. So that helps us understand that it doesn't depend on me, but I have to allow myself to be the bridge for that consciousness to go through, because otherwise I'm trying to manipulate the reality, and it's just this 0.000% of the truth. So, but it's a whole process of understanding, and that's why the ancient traditions in many cultures were so related to death. Death was so important was so important to understand this, because it helps you understand that the body is just a channel for the consciousness to move through. And once the consciousness moves through and started a new path, your vessel dies and transforms into another thing. So so it's a very different way of perceiving. That's why we have to practice death every day, so we can actually allow the divine to go through us and not us to interpret the divine, which is so what we are trying to do all the time.
I'm going to read a comment out here that I think will be a perfect like full stop to your point here. It's from Julie Dean. Hello, Julie. It says, "Thank you, Matthias. I love your perspective because it always breaks my brain a little bit in a good way." And then Yayun Park writes, "Consciousness goes through us, it moves through us and starts a new path. The vessel dies and transforms into a new thing. Practice death every day and allow the divine to go up and through us daily." Very, very powerful comment there. Maybe something bringing it back. So we talked about purpose a little bit, and maybe we stay on this actually a little bit. Now, when I was in Peru, I was given this chacruna, and it has these sacred stones from Machu Picchu, and Jorge gave this to me. And when you summarize the purpose of the human spirit, Jorge, to me, if I had to paraphrase you, it would be love, service, and wisdom. Can you talk about this concept a little bit of your understanding of human purpose?
Yes, this is really about light. You know, most of the time it's not easy to understand light. We see something abstract, something that belongs to other dimensions sometimes, but in reality, in a practical way, the Incas, we are not really searching for enlightenment. We believe we are already enlightened. We are the children of the light, children of the sun. So the Father Son, as a portal, shares with all the creatures he loves, and our beloved Mother Earth loves so much. His and her love, service, and wisdom, that is light. So to really understand, because we try to understand with the mind. And when we try to understand, I just made that word, to make it a little difference. It is about feeling. Feeling brings us to the present. As we feel our souls, we can experience the knowledge through our inner sun, that light that is wise. We believe that all light is wise. There is no light that's not wise. That's why when we have a very important question, important decision to make, we go to our hearts. There is the answer. But light is always in service. Love is always in service. There is no love that's not in service. So in the Andean world, we believe it's not really about the concept, it's about how we experience life. Mm. When we are aware that we have an incredible mother, the Mother Earth, and we see that everybody who drinks the milk of the Mother Earth is our family. What's the milk? Water. Water. Every creature that drinks water is our family. The animals, the plants, humans, and also the stone people, they need in their process of transformation some water. So what is important is for us the relations. How are our relations? It's not only about trying to be a good person. It is really about to embody the light. How you embody the light? By loving yourself. That's the most important contribution we can bring to the world. Mm. That brings also your wisdom. Because when you release the resistance to be who you are, when you release the resistance, the blockages that comes from the heavy energies we experience, the human condition with this egocentric characteristic, it has to do with fear. It has to do with the old beliefs, the old paradigms about the success for the success, but we forgot really what the soul wants. Our soul, we believe that is ready always to jump in our lives. And what eats our soul is light, beauty. The Mother Earth every day shares with us that beauty. That's why we believe it's important to feed the soul so we can have a strong soul to face the weakness, because life is proportional. As we have a great gift, we have a weakness. So the weakness could be in the physical body, mental body, or emotional body. Nowadays, there's a lot of weakness in the mental body. When I'm doing my healings, I see that there is people who want a guidance. They're even not expecting that somebody's going to fix their lives. It is about to remember that we carry wisdom. We born with baskets of wisdom. We can put it that way, but in reality, all light is wise. What we do, what we guide, is to access the portals of wisdom. For example, Yachay, Yachay. You can read from both sides. It is from left to right, right to left. It is a palindrome word. So when we have a word like this, that means is to get in, to get out. It's a portal where everybody has access, and it goes by releasing the heavy energies. So everybody, we have some experience, because this is life. Life brings us some challenges, some weakness, some situations, some issues as an invitation to an extraordinary life. The medicine is the extra. What's the extra? The light, love, service, and wisdom.
Very beautiful, Jorge. This phrase has stuck with me ever since our trip to Peru, love, service, and wisdom, and it's an internal mantra for me now. Matías, a little bit on the heels of Jorge's commentary there, and there's a few questions coming up in the thread here. One here is anonymous, but it's like, I have a strong feeling to be part of a rainbow bridge. I'm just a regular person. How can I be a part without knowing how? And then Elijah writes, can Jorge or Matías speak to the notion of the rainbow people and the rainbow bridge? The energy has been revealing itself to me and my wife in plant medicine ceremonies recently. Also, we have this notion of the rainbow light body, from the Tibetan. And there's been lots of talks here at Gaia about ignitons, these, subatomic particles and their ability to attract light in the body and the pineal gland. Matías, what do you say about these rainbow bridge channel and this sort of igniton light body enabling practices? And will that be something that is happening in Peru?
Yeah, well, as Jorge was saying, we are already light. Everything that we are, that there is, it's already light. We are just different spectrums of light, and because we are vibrating different wavelength, we perceive different colors or different realities. Of course, the way that insects perceive light is completely different as we perceive it. So they see different spectrums of the light that they are. And we within ourselves, depending on our vibration and how our centers of power process the movement of light, we can have more of one color or the other. So what do we call a rainbow bridge? A rainbow bridge is basically when you allow yourself to integrate every vibration within yourself, and you are not just vibrating low or high or trying to be something that you're not, but that you kind of feed every aspect of yourself with what it's needed. So you resound being anchored on earth at the same time that you have an open mind. You have all the spectrum from red colors, infrared to ultraviolet. So all the colors within that spectrum is the rainbow that we can perceive. And water is the one that allows you to project the different rays of light, which is not different light, it's just different waves of the same light that you are. So because we are 70% water, every light that comes from us and that goes through us reflects those colors. So when you are locked and trapped in one specific way of thinking, it means that you are mostly one color because you vibrate in one specific tone. So you need to be very open to life in order to be able for the light to express in every radiation, in every wavelength. So that's how you perceive a rainbow bridge, and you become a rainbow bridge because you have all the frequencies within. And that's why it's so important to know yourself and not just to say, I am this or I am that, but I am. And once you open yourself to the infinite possibilities of the infinite potential that you have, that's how you start to build the rainbow bridge within yourself. And everything in life is projecting rainbow bridges, but because we are so locked in thinking this is who I am, this is who you are, that tree is that tree, and this tone is this tone, and we separate those things, so we see separate colors, and we cannot create the bridges between all of it. So the main thing that we have to do is to disarm the idea of only one perception of who you are. So the light that you are can be expressed in all the different wavelengths.
Yeah, that's so powerful. I mean, this is mirrored in many ancient cultures, this concept of I am that and that I am. And this is your soy, your activations that you do, which I think is super powerful. And seeing oneness in everything, I think, is a universal understanding of the principle of not only quantum physics, but this is more of a mechanistic mindset, but also this spiritual understanding. One other term that came to me recently, just last week, we were talking about consciousness, and people were saying, "Well, what is it?" And they say, "Well, it's frequency, right?" Okay, well, it's frequency, and then it's like, "Well, what's your perception on this?" Well, you have high frequency, love, compassion, empathy, oneness, and then low frequency is jealousy, hatred, greed. And then, but instead of seeing it as high and low, they were saying you have to see it as an aperture, and you widen your aperture to all the frequencies. And this is exactly what you're saying, right? And and as you widen to these frequencies, is this something that you do with this Yo Soy practice? Is this activation of sorts that you lead people through, Matthias?
I usually invite people constantly to say I am, and then the aspect that you embody as a constant practice, because we tend to say, for example, uh, the person and then the verb of what we want or whatever,
Yeah.
and then the object. So, for example, we say, I want food, instead of saying, I am nourishment. So, when you locate the object after a verb that is a need, a projection, something outside, for example, I love you instead of I am love, when you project the thing into others, you are not using consciousness. You are using unconsciousness, and which is not bad. It's not a bad thing. It's just different ways of using the same thing. When you project the essence of yourself into someone, you are cutting the pieces, and cutting the pieces means science. So science is I cut the pieces. So unconsciousness is when you are not realizing that you are cutting yourself from the other, that you are cutting yourself from the power. So unconsciousness is not doing something wrong. It's simply separating concepts that not necessarily have to be separated. So consciousness is when you grab all those concepts and make one out of it. That's what consciousness would mean. So you can be conscious in any way. It's not just a spiritual thing. You can be conscious in any aspect of your life. There's a lot of people that is conscious that is not spiritual at all. And there's a lot of spiritual people that are completely unconscious. So it's not related to how much you can connect. It's more related about how can you find balance between all the pieces that made you that made you be who you are.
Wow. I mean, this is some very, very, very powerful ideas you're sharing here. I want to just take a minute to acknowledge our guests, Matías and Jorge. If you can see that heart button there, hit it and give them a big flurry of hearts here. Especially if you would love to join them on this upcoming event. If you want to find out more, it's gaia.com/Peru. And Matías will be leading some activations there in Ollantaytambo and Machu Picchu, including a sunrise ceremony. And that was the best. Jorge, when we were there, the evening one was sort of busy. It was this thing, and the sunrise was just so exceptional. What is it? Why is it so important to be there at these moments of like sunrise and sunset, Jorge?
First of all those places are high voltage, So anything you do, it's magnified. So when we when we connect with the Father Son, we are connecting with the same frequency of the soul. The first light, we believe, has the same component of the soul. So the best food of the soul at that moment. But more than that is we can let evolved beings come to our lives. So after the process of releasing heavy energies, we have a great opportunity to continue in our service to expand that consciousness. Suddenly, you don't have really a plan from the mind. Suddenly, from the soul jumps some amazing activities because you start to embody that Inca consciousness. Even the etymology of the word Inca, it comes from two words. One is in, that is Inti, okay? Inti, the Father Son. Kana is a ray of the sun. So a ray of the sun comes from the Father and touch you. And who you are? You are also children of the Mother Earth. Like a filament of light comes from the heart of the Mother Earth to the Kai Pacha, to this world. So we are here like a prism, like a crystal. So when that ray touches, we let flow the luminosity of that light through our lives. So to experience the light, the first light at this high voltage place, you never forget that you are returning to the original design of the children of the light. Returning to your essence. You are clarifying. You start to use the first qualities of the light, that is clarity and transparency. You start to experience the luminosity, the enthusiasm for life. You start to feel the warmth, the affection to yourself and life. You start to see that your soul shines. Your heart is bright. So we've been always looking for bright minds. This is the time when we start to find the amazing bright souls, the bright hearts. And by some mysterious reason from the cosmos, we come together in groups. And thank you, Gaia, for calling all those naked souls ready to experience the awareness of the light. It's by loving ourselves, by accepting the inner wisdom, and by being in service to life.
Beautiful. So we have some moments here to answer a few more questions. And I just realized that in the Q&A, people can vote up or down a question, which is awesome. And we have two of the top rated questions here. So I'd like to ask them and get in there and start voting if you like. Jackie writes here for Matías, why do most of us what can't remember even a small thing from our previous lives? How can we transcend without memory? It would be like graduating without remembering high school or college. Yeah.
Well, we all remember. It's just that we don't pay attention on the way we remember. We think that remembering is to remember where were you in the 1600s and what you were doing there. But what your body remembers from that probably is your fear to swords.
Mm.
Or you go to certain places and you say, I feel chills here, I don't want to be. So your body remembers, your energy, your cells remember. But what we cannot remember is the way we are used to think what remembering is. Like last year I went to this holiday and I met this person and blah blah. Why we cannot remember those details? Because those are programmings that we have been building with our brain today. So that's the way we can actually understand a memory in this life. It's a process that helps us to kind of survive. But then once you got that package of information and you created like a like a block of data, it goes to your cells. So it's like driving a bicycle. It's like yeah, driving a car. You don't think every time what you have to do, or when you walk, or when you breathe. When you're a baby, you have to learn how to breathe again. But then when you're adult, you don't even think about it. So there are so many things that we just stop thinking about them, and we let the body to take care of it. So after thousands of years, the body keeps remembering all this information without having to go through your neurons. So your neurons can pay attention to other things, which are the things that are happening right now. The perception that your brain needs to understand from this reality right now. So you cannot charge your brain with data that is unnecessary for you to survive in this moment. But your cells will register everything. The thing is that when you die in other lives, your cells spread into different trees, insects, animals, and other people. So suddenly you won't have the whole picture, because one of the memories might be in someone living in the north of Europe, and one of the other memories might be in someone living in Brazil because of immigration. So you cannot have the complete story of what you have actually lived, because the memories that were stored in the books of life, which is the cells, have been spreading through the DNA in different people. So that's why it's difficult to say, oh, I remember this past life with these specific things. For myself, for example, I don't remember all the details because I don't have all the information in my own cells. They are spread. That's why I start to remember when I meet people or when I go to places. I can complete the puzzle as I move and connect with others, not just with my mind. And that's what we all do, but we don't pay attention to it.
It's powerful. It speaks to the power of community, right? Connecting with others to remember our own spirit, our own soul, our own past.
Yeah.
Jorge, question here from Patrick, and then I'll ask it to Matías as well. And I'm going to frame this a little bit. So during the tour that we did in Peru in November last year, it was a mixture of story. It was a mixture of observing some of the geological wonders of this region, but mostly it was also a mixture of practice, and remembering and connecting. What rituals or practices will you be teaching people in particular, maybe relating to this question from Patrick, who says, do you have guidance about creating new sacred places in our own communities? So maybe I expand upon that question and be like, what can people learn from this tour in Peru and these sacred practices to take back to their communities to create these, sacred places in their own communities?
We believe that it's so important, the ritual, the practices. On this way, we really remember. I keep hearing in many of the talks, people say, oh, I know that. Oh, I heard that. I think I learned a long time ago. Everybody has the information, but we don't embody it. It just stays as an information. But if you do a practice, if you embody, you never forget. For example, want to unblock the memory. You see, we call the sunflower. We connect the Father Sun on the left side with our crown, and we inhale light all the way behind, all the way to the right, very slowly inhaling. We hold 7 moments and we blow heavy energy. 7 moments on the right side. So that practice unblocks the memory. One of my teachers was telling me, you remember the purpose of your soul, why you are here, why your soul brought you here. So if you do 7 times, and for that, we go to special places, to the altar of light, for example, where under the legend says that there is some stones from the stars. So the connection of the mythology, the connection with the solar practice is amazing. But for sure, every day we do the practice to greet yourself. Very important. The real greeting, to remember the light that we are. Before we remember anything, you see, we have the tendency to remember what we have to do. We remember we are agenda. But we have to remember we are a solar panel. We can produce, we are, an amazing battery that we open the endless spring of love is opening the endless spring of wisdom. And there is no worries, because whatever you do in life and you apply this light, you remember the first thing, your light, and you apply that light in the ordinary life, what you have. Your love, service, and wisdom you apply in your activities. It becomes extraordinary day. Whatever is the situation, whatever we are going through. So practices like connecting with the inti, the hatun inti, the sun behind the sun, absorbing with the mouth, by the Father Sun as a bridge to the inner self. Very potent. Then blowing light. Cleansing the 11 eyes. In Aymara, Naira is the past, but Naira also is the eye. So we see with the past. Like Matías was explaining amazing ways, amazing. But it's really about the point of view we got with the knowledge, with the experiences. And as a humans, we have the tendency to be attached to the heavy energies we experience in our lives. So we stay attached to the night. So with the new solar practices, the old ancient solar practices, it survived hidden because it was forbidden by the Catholic religion, So cleansing the 11 eyes is amazing, powerful. So we don't keep anymore the smoky eyes, you see. You start to see clearly what is going on, and you see clearly you are life, you are existence, you are that light. But delivering that message to the heart of the Mother Earth. And she shares with all the creatures that she loves so much.
Mm.
So everybody's a chakaruna, a bridge person. I love that concept of the rainbow bridge.
Rainbow Bridge. Yeah.
That's the Inca consciousness in a way, you see? But of course, we don't have to say that it's Inca. It's not about, this fanatism to believe that, oh, my tradition is the best. We are awakening and we believe in all the ancient traditions. There is the medicine in the struct, the essence of the tradition. But there is something else. We are creating also. So we cannot stay in one box, okay? So we are searching, if we are seeking something, it's also the freedom. Finding that part of us that's not domesticated. Finding that part of us that's pure. That part of us that is unique. That part of us that is beautiful. And all light is beautiful.
I love that.
So, there is so much. It's short time. But time is always in our side. Always is possible, to experience the places, the energies, Matías with amazing teachings. So extraordinary pilgrimage.
And we can overstand and not just understand.
Yeah.
I love this. I want to read some comments here. Veronica is like, Jorge is on point. We are light. Light equals life. And even I got a little teary listening to some of Jorge's message. And it's like this, maybe this is a sign of remembering, Matías, this like, this touches me,
Yeah.
Courtien writes, we have to remember we are a solar panel, in quotes. I could listen and learn, says Stephanie, from Jorge and Matías all day. I agree. And then Verena writes, we are all a living library to each other. Matías, maybe if you want to close here with some comments about visiting these sacred sites at this time of, I would say, what feels like a great shift in humanity. I love this statement from Marianne Williamson, who said, right now at this time, it feels like we are acting as death doulas to the material world and birth doulas to the energetic realm. Maybe speak to this idea of this moment that we're in right now and some of what you wish to sort of impart to this community, and in particular through this upcoming event of this community as we come together in Peru.
Yeah. Well, I used to describe that humanity, as also the trees, we are part of the sympathetic and parasympathetic system of the nerve system of the planet. So we are kind of neurons in this world. And like the neurons and the nerve system, they send signals to every organ to light up the action. So the heart can beat, every organ can function, and the neurons are connectors of that data, of this information, and it travels through the main portals, which are the ley lines of our body, to the main nodes of our body, which are connecting the specific chakras, the specific glands of our body to make us function. And we don't usually think about it. We forget about that. But when humans move through the world, we are doing the same. We empower nodes. We give energy and receive energy from those places, not to enhance our individuals, but because when we move, we bring that information. Like going to Peru can bring information from our places to Peru that it's needed, and then we bring it to our places as we move backwards. So so we are connectors of data and information, and the planet today, it's having one of the biggest the biggest expansions of data with AI, with technology, with satellites, with all of that. It's expanding so much information that if we are not doing the same, with the sacred places, with the places where the information of who we are is encrypted. So we are not going to be at the same level of consciousness that technology is going to move through. So we, by us walking in holy places, in sacred lands, connecting again with the temples, with the stones, with the mountains, with the first coding of our minds, and if we don't do that, rewiring the whole planet with that consciousness, so we are going to be always a step backwards in the improvement of who we are. So I believe that moving through these sacred places, going to visit them, going to just feel them. Sometimes it's not about having a great connection. Sometimes it's just going there, touch a stone, and then go. That is also very powerful for the nerve system of the planet. So we can actually expand in consciousness in a very physical way. So yeah.
Very, very, very well said. Super powerful, super profound. And we are just past the top of the hour. I want to be respectful to everyone's time here. And I want to thank my guests, Jorge Luis Delgado and Matias de Stefano. And if you love listening to these gentlemen, and honestly, I think I could play this on repeat on my computer in the background all day and take new nuggets of wisdom from it. I think this is a fraction of what you would get as a transmission from being in person. I can speak to this for being connected to Matías personally a few times, but then also being guided by Jorge in Peru. It's a very powerful transmission in person, and I want to thank everybody for their questions, and I love seeing all your hearts, and thank yous to the guests here today, to Matías and Jorge. Lots of so much love, service and wisdom and light. And thank you all. And if you would like to find out about how to tour with these two exceptional gentlemen, these two bridges to the divine, you can find out more on Gaia Marketplace. Thank you, Matías, and thank you, Jorge. Such a pleasure having you here today. And
Thank you.
yeah, see you soon. Thank you, Jorge.
Thank you very much.
Okay, ciao. Bye.